Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Unapologetic Me. This is a space where we go beyond what people have built and really get into how they think, how they decide, and what it takes to stay with those decisions over time. Because the truth is, most journeys look linear from the outside, but internally, they're anything but. And today's conversation sits right at the intersection. We're talking about building, but not just in the physical sense. We're talking about conviction, trust, timing, and what it really takes to lead in a space where perception, pressure, and long term decisions all collide. Joining me today is Mr. Vikas Jain, CEO of Labdhi Lifestyle Limited, where he leads the company's vision across residential and commercial real estate. Under his leadership, the company is driving BKCH, a flagship commercial development in Bandra Kurla complex. He's also closely involved with shaping the next generation of leadership through NAREDCO's NextGen and brings a strong perspective on market behavior, buyer psychology, and strategic positioning. But more than all of that, what I'm really interested in today is how he thinks. So, first of all, Vikas, thank you so much for being here, and I'm just glad it's worked out with your calendar.
Thanks, Ekta. Thanks for having me here.
All right. So I always start with conversations a little away from titles and achievements because I think the most interesting manner to learn about people is when you go underneath and beyond all of that. So I want to start with something very simple, which is how would you describe yourself as a person?
I guess your title does that for me. Unapologetic me as a title and as a life mantra actually works. Quite honestly, I'm a very focused kind of guy. Really like to kind of achieve, what I set out to achieve, and that has kept me motivated. Do find my motivation from a higher calling rather than just numbers,
Okay.
flats, or square footage, or revenue, or whatever. Now, I strongly believe that unless you have that, you'll not be able to kind of build something which will last generations or build a legacy. So that's why I just speak. I hope I can do
Now
that.
that is
So
interesting. Very interesting because sometimes we feel that the way we describe ourselves obviously
Mhm.
says more than the resume, like you just did. Now, do you think that version of you has always been consistent or has it evolved through different phases of your life?
Well, I think the principles have remained consistent. I think what I would say is that the process has remained consistent. The inputs and the outputs have changed. So,
Sure.
with the basics of the process have remained the same. And that's the result. While you have the same kind of inputs or even different inputs over time, the outputs have changed because of the way you think through things, on reactions, on how you process something. How I process something when I was a 23-year-old versus a 33-year-old versus now when I'm 45. These
Yeah.
are these are different versions of me, but the core principles of high integrity, of making sure that you focus on the larger vision and the ability to take risks. Those basic principles still stand. And even today,
All
when I
right.
see myself, taking decisions, those things kick in, albeit in different degrees now. So that's the reason why the output might change a little bit, but the process still remains the same, more or less.
Love the answer, love the detailing. Also, kind of brings me to this side when you said that the inputs remain the same, but the outputs are changing. So, I want to bring
Yeah.
your focus to the environment because I feel a lot of people underestimate how much environment shape identity. And sometimes we think that our personality is fixed, but experience changes the lens, like you were mentioning. Was there a point when you
Absolutely.
realized that you think differently from most people around you, or did that awareness come later?
Now, at different points in time, I guess, I did have a feeling that I always wanted to kind of go a little bit beyond what was expected from me, and that's
Okay.
one thing that's always stayed. But actually, I would go to the earlier part of the question about how environments shape your thoughts, and
Yes.
that's absolutely true. I mean, when I was abroad, I was studying there. The global environment. Talking to people from I think our batch had about 18, 19 countries represented. Just changes the way you think. Just changes, how it makes you feel how it actually gives you a sense of how big the world really is and how diverse it is. And
Yeah.
and and from there, then I went to finance, and became an investment banker. And just in sitting in the thick of things with the smartest people on earth, that
Yeah.
that changes perspective, and that actually, I mean, it enriched my experience. It enriched my process, as you might speak. And then, then my entrepreneurial journey began when I came back to India, and that changed everything. From and I have a very apt story here to share with you. When I was
Let's
abroad,
go.
I was wearing suits and ties every day to work.
Okay.
I was an investment banker, right? If there was a crease on your shirt, then there's a problem, right? And if your shoes are not, spick and span, then that's the problem. From there, I moved to infrastructure, which essentially means that I had to wear work boots and be on site every day. From dealing with
Oh my God.
CEOs, in this case, in some cases, Fortune 500 company CEOs, to being on the other end, absolute other end of dealing with labor and
Labor.
dealing with probably the uneducated class.
Yeah.
Oh, the environment has changed for me, like as starkly as it can be, and that
I was
teaches
going
you.
to ask what was going on in the mind at that point in time? Like, because there was like you mentioned, a stark contrast.
Sure, there probably about a million times I might have thought that I made a mistake, but I'm
You
happy
feel
that
it?
the millionth and the one time that I thought I didn't make a mistake, I made it out of it. So,
Let's go.
just that one time more that I thought that this is not a mistake. This is destiny. This is strategy. This is however I convinced myself at that point in time. The 27-year-old Vikas was not very kind on himself when things were not going his way. At site or at work or whatever. But today, I think I'm able to kind of take all of that with a lot of humility and just go with the pace with it. So,
Love
the
the answer. I mean, I feel like this is probably the third question I'm already saying, loving the answer, loving the depth. Because I feel like the way you explained and spin the story and brought out the honest confessions also, how you've seen early part of the life and then changing it and with the perspective evolving, I think that says a lot about you as a person and how you view
thank
the world differently. Because I feel like some people who want to build things at large, they have the ability of seeing through things which a normal person cannot, and you don't need a validation from it because I think it comes very strongly from within. Now, leading to that is the next point that I want to make, and I'm very curious about this because responsibility changes people too. Some people naturally move towards it and others grow over time. Were you always comfortable with responsibility scale, or did that come with time in your case?
I don't think responsibility comes with any titles
Hmm.
or with age or with a position in life. I think responsibility is a very individual characteristic.
Hmm.
If you are responsible, you could be responsible as a 5-year-old. When you wake up, you'll make your bed up. And if you're irresponsible, I mean, even if you're a CEO or a 50-year-old guy, you'd still be irresponsible. So, and without responsibility, without owning something, right? Without taking ownership and without being responsible for something, I doubt you'll be able to build
Yeah.
anything significant, anything worth its while.
Hmm.
I don't think so. That works. You need to be inherently be a kind of person who owns up the things around him,
Hmm.
and then be responsible of it. Takes charge. And then kind of goes on to the journey which is required to kind of take things from point A to point B.
Sweet.
Responsibility, I think, to me at least, comes naturally. And again, I think being an elder brother helped in that case. Felt
Okay.
responsible for my sister very, very early up, and she hated that, by the way. But yeah, and it just goes now. I mean, I find myself, planning things all the time. I find myself, trying to kind of energize people, energize groups. So I think for me, it came to me naturally.
All right. We're going to touch upon confidence now because that is one thing that we haven't spoken by far. So, especially in leadership positions, people often see the confidence, they don't see the emotional weight underneath it.
Right.
Um, Question is, what do people misunderstand about someone in your position?
So I must believe that leaders have to be great actors. You cannot
Okay.
you cannot become a leader, because if you demonstrate, you'll feel scared.
Yeah.
You'll feel uncertain, and you'll feel all of those things.
Yeah.
But you still have to make sure that you project you're the sense of calm around you, right? If the leader of if a general of an army panics, the army is going to lose. The panic is
Yeah.
going to set in. And it's not only in the negative sense, even in the positive sense, right? When things are really going your way, and you might be overly exuberant and cause people to believe that, oh my goodness me, we've arrived. And that, right at the end, we've seen so many people, so many companies, so many institutions have dropped the ball right at the end, right? They've reached there and then they were not able to kind of cross to the finish line. I guess, you need to be temperate when you're talking about, failures on one hand, or even successes, because you know that the cycle will turn around. If you fail today, you will succeed tomorrow. And if you succeeded today, you will fail soon enough. I think if you can take that with a little bit of poise, then as a leader, I think you've done something well for your team. You've given them a chance to kind of absorb and then internalize everything. I'm not saying don't enjoy your successes, or don't kind of do a post-mortem on your failures. You should do that, obviously. But and it's very difficult not, it's very difficult not to be passionate about certain things, especially as an entrepreneur. Passion is what drives you. But I think it would be a great favor for yourself, to yourself, I'm sorry, and to the team around you, if you're able to temperate the emotion, if you keep the emotions on an even keel, and then take it from there. So confidence actually would come from there. Being able to kind of make sure that translates into something which is more meaningful, either as a learning or as an action point, or or as a result. All of that matters. So.
How brilliantly you answered and brought that honesty. Not many people are able to admit that you have to act a certain way to bring that energy with the team, irrespective
Right.
of what's going on within you. So we really appreciate. With this, we've wrapped the first segment. Now, before I move on to the next, I want to tell you that, while preparing this conversation, one thing I kept thinking was this, that from the outside, when people think about real estate, it can become extremely transactional. People talk about projects, numbers, timelines. But the deeper I thought about it, the more I felt like it's a business basically running on human psychology. So we're going to be exploring that in the next segment with you. On that note,
Sure.
tell me, do you also see it like that?
So, I mean, of all the businesses that I've been part of, I have a real estate business. We also have a finance business, where we run a private equity fund, and we run a private debt platform. I'm a co-founder of that, and I've done a bunch of other things in my life. I think of all the businesses that even I've had a chance to kind of view at a distance or experience firsthand. Real estate is probably the most people business, right? I mean, you're building
Oh,
homes.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
get bigger than that. I mean, you could be building rockets, and you could be building, you could be sending, hoping to send people to Mars.
Yeah.
But as they stand today, as these as the unit of a family evolves and kind of grows into it, or as the larger society kind of forms around individual families, we as real estate developers really have a fantastic view, and a fantastic position actually to shape that.
Yeah.
How you build projects, eventually, hopefully, will influence lives, and that would kind of influence societies and nations and the world at large. So, I mean, from a very, very microscopic, single unit, individual family, however you'd like to see it, I think we are at a ring, we have a ringside seat to kind of see the transformation, and to be
Yeah.
able to kind of have an impact on that. That is what is so satisfying as a real estate developer. And if you and conversely, if we thought about a project just from an Excel sheet, be it purely numbers, FSI, square footage cost, and price
Yeah.
realized, and marketing costs, and so on and so forth, we'll
Yeah.
miss the essence of the business, which eventually will mean that, again, in the short term you might be successful, but in the long run you're not going to build a legacy, or you're not going to build something which will last. But if you keep the people at the center of it, if you keep your employees, your
Yeah.
customers, and for that matter, the larger stakeholders. If you keep them at the center of it, and then try to kind of evolve the product around it, evolve the thoughts around it, evolve the business around it, there's no way that you're going to fail in real estate. It's probably one of the most rewarding careers, or rewarding segments of the industries, of any industry for that matter. If you did things right, this industry really rewards people very, very handsomely. So,
All right, we
yeah.
spoke about people, we spoke about legacy. One of the essential component that ties both is the trust element, because I think
Right.
that that's a huge part of the equation, right? As you agree,
It
especially in
is.
industries where perception matters deeply. Now, this is an industry where skepticism can exist. How do you make people believe not just logically but emotionally in you?
So here's the here's the unapologetic version of this. Actually, quite honestly, in reality, right,
Hmm.
without trust, a realistic transaction would never work, right? Now imagine, a person who's probably making, let's say, 10 lakh rupees a year, taking a decision which is worth about 1 crore. Okay, if you
Yeah,
buy a house in
yeah,
Mumbai, that's a starting point. And oh, by the way, not from a financial standpoint also, but the decision is also complicated from a legal side because he doesn't understand the documents, he doesn't understand how to do the due diligence, and whether the right people, or hopefully he'll have the right sense to kind of engage the right partners to kind of help him understand which property works for him. And then there's a third aspect of it, which is the old family and the emotional aspect of it, which
yeah,
kind of pours into such decisions, at least in India, where
yeah,
I'm going to see my family here, I'm going to build my family here. Will this be a great investment? Even though I'm looking at it from a consumption standpoint. So clearly, when you have such large number, large things at stake, not just financially, but also emotionally, also legally, people tend to take decisions not based on logic and facts. People tend to take those decisions very, very emotionally, and that's because the ambiguity is actually not understood. Had the ambiguity been understood, so eventually what the decision is, rather the call is, do I trust this person who's sitting in front of me, this
yeah.
organization who's building this product, or do I not? And if the answer to that is not, more often than not, the deal won't happen. So trust is very, very, very central, specifically in a product where you don't see anything. And oh, by the way, the entire decision is further complicated by the fact that you don't see anything before you buy it. Typically, when you're buying under construction, you're buying a map, or you're buying an image that is created by the developer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
imagine, if we just thought about it, if we paused ourselves and just took a step back and thought about this, and maybe once or twice in a lifetime, you'll take a realistic decision buying home. An average person buys about 1.5 homes or 1.75 homes. I read the statistics somewhere in their lives. So essentially, you'll be taking that decision once or twice in your life. It's a large
Yeah,
decision. It's legally complicated, and it's very, very emotionally driven. Right.
yeah,
And by the way, I'm not even seeing the product. If I'm buying a
yeah.
jeans, if I buy a jeans, I try it on. I click pictures and I send it to my friends, and and they revert back saying, "Ha, theek hai, theek lag raha hai, nahi lag raha hai, whatever, whatever, whatever." And this is just
True.
a pair of jeans. If you made a mistake buying a pair of jeans, you'll feel bad.
Yeah.
You won't feel crippled, right? And ultimately, every realistic decision is a trust decision. When I'm taking a call, I'm doing a transaction. I'm doing it. What I'm implicitly trying to say is that I trust you. I trust the vision that you bought for this product. I
Yeah.
trust that your organization is an honest organization trying to deliver what is promising, and I trust that you will hold me through the process as I go through, because I'll need, it is so many times, and this happens across the board, whether we are selling affordable homes or whether we're selling luxurious offices now, grade A offices. People still ultimately want to hear it from you, and so many times they waver. They came with a certain thought process and they end up buying something different. And as a real estate person, if you're involved in sales in real estate, you have to make sure that you understand the customer more than the customer understands himself about his requirement. I'm not talking about his whole entire persona. We have to really deeply understand him. And there have been times when we have told customers, at least me, I've personally told customers, you should not buy this house because maybe this is not what you're looking for. And if you can say that
Okay.
with conviction, if you can say that with conviction, even though the customer is convinced, and if you can say that, then you've done something right. Then you build the right process, you build the right ethos, at least in the decision making process. You might not be a customer today, but it'll at least it'll talk about your organization and about you, very, very differently for the rest of his life.
Think you gave me everything about the real estate world, how it operates internally. For somebody who wants to pursue this as a career and they've never tried, this is probably going to get them really excited on how the world
Well, I
internally
hope so.
operates.
It's probably one of the best industries to be part of. I mean, don't trust the newspapers, don't trust anything else. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing a family smiling together when they receive the keys of their house.
Oh, this
Trust
should be
me.
the punchline.
It's true. By the way, it's not even mine. It's ages of real estate developers have told them. Whenever and anybody who's lasted for multiple generations, you ask them
Yeah.
that one thing, they'll never tell you that. Oh my goodness me, they got handsomely rewarded or whatever.
Hmm.
Ultimately we're humans, right? I mean, so eventually we respond to emotions,
Yeah.
and that emotion is very very different. It's a
Perfect. Um,
it's a different one. Yeah.
True. All right. So we heard and we learned everything about how the real estate world operates, the nitty gritties and the emotions involved in it. Want to bring your attention to another consumer segment because I also think that the consumers are also evolving big time. People
Sure,
today
they
are
are.
far more aware and, like you
Mhm.
said, emotionally driven and far more experience oriented also. Now, do you think buyers always know what they want or do they discover it during the process?
Oh, this is going to be so controversial. I mean,
Let's
you
go.
know,
Come
ha-
on. Give me the deeds.
half of the process is understanding what the buyers want, and it's not us who's trying to understand. It's them who's trying to kind of walk through the logic with us as to what they
Yeah.
really are looking for. I mean, are they here for investment? Are you going to consume this property, or what do you think, and how do you think through it? They come with they come with a seed that they are
Yeah.
looking to buy or invest or thought or think through something, or hopefully build a generational asset for their family.
Yeah.
But more often than not, they don't know how to go through it. They don't know how to
Yeah.
finance it. They don't know what papers to look at. And I'm talking about the average
Yeah.
buyer. Yes, a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot of information with RERA is available online,
Hmm.
but I must tell you, information is not knowledge. Everything
Yeah.
is available online. It is not. It's not like before where there was a lot of opacity in the way decisions were being made or information was being made available. But in reality, you might have reams of data in front of you, but if you don't know what to make sense of, uh, I don't think you'd end up with the right conclusion.
Hmm.
So yes, the buyers do have an idea of what they want. They do a lot of research online.
Hmm.
So they gather a lot of information, but convert that information into knowledge is still a process. They still have to kind of subject themselves through the process. And if they do that, well, then hopefully they'll take the right decision.
All right.
Many times, I've seen so many customers who end up in a deal,
Yeah.
and then think, oh my goodness me, if I'd pushed a little bit here, I could have taken this, or I would have done that, or I would have structured the
Yeah.
deal slightly differently, or I would have taken X project versus Y project or whatever. And that's okay, as long as there's flexibility. I'm really thankful to the government of India that they brought in RERA.
Hmm.
Now, at least the transparency angle or the minimum expectations of transparency have gone up so high that
Hmm.
everything is reported, everything is accounted for. I hope whoever listens to this, and if you're buying a real estate, if you're investing in real estate, if
I'm
you're
giving
buying a
a
piece
tab.
of
Yeah.
property anywhere, please make sure that you go through it. And I have always been of the opinion that in India, at least, buy side real estate advisors don't exist. We have a lot of channel partners who are very very good. They're very smart, but the system is motivated to be on the sell side rather than the buy side. So when a real
Okay.
estate developer comes with a property, they are working for the developer to identify customers. But if you are trying to buy a property for yourself, it is
Hmm.
my sincere request that you engage the services of an expert. Do not.
Hmm.
I mean, it's great to speak to your mama, tau, bua, whoever is a rich guy in your family, and think that they know everything. Trust me, I might tell you 9 times out of 10 they might also not know a lot of things. But go to an expert and engage that person to be your consultant and help you through that process across the world in other parts of this world. That's how real estate transactions help. And I believe that the industry will benefit from this. I believe that if
Hmm.
if if this class of consultants is available, or if this service is made available, initially it is tough because buyers don't want to pay for consultants. But if you really kind of put things in perspective, it's a small fee, and it
Hmm.
saves a lot of hard won. So yeah, clearly.
Good piece of
So though,
advice from Vikas. Everybody should follow. Um, Let's shift the tangent a little bit. Because high stake decisions reveal so much about human nature, sometimes about fear, aspiration, and sometimes about identity. Have you noticed patterns in how people make decisions when the stakes are really high?
Eventually, they go back to their core. Eventually they go back, irrespective of the information at hand, irrespective of what's made available to them, or what logic might say, or one way or the other. Eventually, it goes back to who you are at deep inside you. Whether you are somebody who is a risk taker, then you'll view the same things. Your inputs will be the same. Your outputs will be very, very different. Your process is so much different. If you're risk averse, things will, you'll put things in a very, very different perspective. You'll try to kind of mask it with method or with process, but really not. At core, if you're risk averse, you're risk averse. And in between this spectrum of looking at how people use emotions in high stakes games, I think, eventually the true you always shows up, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and especially when you're under pressure, the chances of the true you coming out is much, much better. But I've always seen people, it tells you, you're right. It tells when you put under pressure, and when the stakes are very high, you really do understand the person,
Yeah.
and you understand him at the core, because clearly it's impossible for him to kind of mask himself at that point.
True that.
So I don't
Beautifully
I don't know whether
answered.
I answered your question, but
I imagine after years in this industry, you probably observe a different behavior right now. What has this industry taught you about human behavior that no textbook could?
I've read a book actually about this. The book is called Predictably Irrational. But that is actually true. People are predictably irrational. And they, all our theories, all our concepts are based on the fact that we assume that markets are rational. We assume that people are rational, but they're not. They're irrational most of the times, which is why we have such wild swings in the market, be it the stock markets or anything else, or speculation, and all that happens. And this book actually argues that you could actually predict that irrationality. So, if you behave in a certain way, you continue to behave irrationally in a certain way, which is, scary, because if you understand the predictability of the irrationality, then you could structure yourself to be at that end where, the other person is making an irrational decision, and you are standing to benefit from it. So clearly, and the book is brilliant. Actually, I'd recommend that you read it, or recommend whoever listens to this that they read it. But I think that's what real estate has taught me. The irrational part is true. I've not been able to kind of understand the predictability part of it that much,
Okay.
because you don't interact with the same person, and I'm talking about it from a consumer standpoint. But then the other stakeholders, yes, you do interact with them on a longer term basis, so you'll be able to understand them a little bit better. But the consumers, they are probably with you, they have 5 or 6 touch points with you, and then the house is delivered, then really the connection goes away. So we won't be able to get to the predictability of it. But on an individual basis, but as a mass, if we look into it, we've seen irrational behavior millions of times in real estate projects. I mean, just recently, just day before yesterday, I was reading about an event of a watch company. I think this
Okay.
was a Swiss watch company called Swatch, and they have partnered with AP for a particular product. And the newspapers are talking about lines of people, like, which going around the block in the malls to buy a 40,000 rupee watch, in India. And here, all our statistics say that, oh my goodness me, India is still, kind of just beating the poverty line, or going above it. And here
Yeah.
they are, in every mall across India where this product is being sold, people in hundreds are lining up. So, it does tell you a lot about how herd mentality and how irrationality works. And that's true.
Alrighty. Okay. Now, I think what's very clear through the conversation by far is that leadership in your world isn't just about operational, emotional, psychological, reputational. We touched on a lot of segments. We spoke about how the industry works, and we spoke about consumer psychology also. when you're leading at scale, the pressure attached to decisions becomes very different. So I want to shift to that side of the conversation now. Um,
Okay.
Tell me, what does leadership feel like when your decisions or the decisions that you make don't just impact numbers, but they impact people, timelines, and long term credibility? What is the onus and what's going on in the mind when the stakes are high?
I I think you got to keep it simple. I think you got to stick to the core of who you are, what you're trying to build, and with every particular asset, the story is different. And if you stick to the basic principles, I think you'd make the right calls. Yes, if you started thinking about the consequences of all the decisions and the amount of lives that you're going to impact and the people and the finances and the project timelines and so on, everything will grow too large. It's just, uh, keep it as simple as you can. Stick to the basics, and I think you will always come out on the right side if you did that. If you try to kind of overcomplicate things, try to kind of make it, you know, for lack of a better term, add more to the pressure than already is. If you think a lot about all of those things, you'll never be able to decide. Uh, and when you take decisions as a leader of an organization, it has implications which are far and wide, and it's not just your numbers or your balance sheet, but it's the employees, the people who've trusted you, who've given their time to you. It's the consumers. It's the whole line. It's the entire stakes, the ecosystem, right? I mean, each house. If you're building a building in Mumbai, each building is worth a few hundred crores. If you're doing a mid-sized project in Mumbai, that's what the size is. So the numbers are large, and the cost implications and the design implications can also be. So, but I think you need to keep it simple. I think you just need to break it down as much as you can, and start hitting the smaller ones easier, with whatever you can, and then you'll be able to kind of build upon it.
Right. So we spoke about decision making. I also think it's also a good time to talk about a little bit about leadership because not always the clarity is available in real time. How do you
Right.
navigate that when things are uncertain, but you have to take a call?
You got to take leaps of faith. There's no way else to put it. You have to trust your gut. You have to trust, your instinct essentially, and take a leap of faith sometimes. In fact, uh, I think the difference between a leader and, let's say, a top rung executive. Being a leader
Yeah.
means, I'm saying, being entrepreneurial, being a leader at the CEO level or plus, or whatever, C-suite level or
Hmm.
plus, or being just below that. That's that difference.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm sure both of those guys are correct. But if you're able to take a logical leap of faith, and if you're able to trust your gut, which obviously has to be honed in over experience.
I was going to say that. Yeah, it comes with you've handled projects and experience and built it over time, right?
Yes, yes. And once you do that, then you've done something right. Then you will have to take that leap of faith. You will not have all the variables, before making a decision. And more often than not, you're deciding without all the variables in place. So if you did that, that's what it is. That's what it takes.
Now, leadership in itself also evolves over time, right? The version of leadership that once served at one level doesn't work at the other. How
Yes.
has your leadership style changed as your scale of responsibility grown over?
Oh my God. Well, I've been thrusted into a position of leadership very early up, because when I came back to India, I began my entrepreneurial journey. And I think experience has tempered me down a lot, from being a very, very autocratic, leading from the front, kind of do it myself kind of person.
Autocratic, really?
Yeah, I mean, that's that, and I don't mince my words around that, to being a lot more participative now. While still I lead from the front and I still take calls, I tend to listen to, and that also goes back to the fact that, when I started my journey, I didn't have a lot of people around me. Now I have a fantastic bunch of people who work with me, who are my colleagues, and we trust each other. So we are able to bounce ideas off each other, bounce concept out of each other, and then basically decide. Eventually, it is my job to decide. So clearly, but I do make it a point to kind of listen to a lot of perspectives.
Okay.
And part of this is also, where you are in life. I think I'm not saying this in jest, but it might come across like that. I think a lot of my leadership skills have actually been shaped up, I would say, by my experiences as a father. My kids
Okay.
taught me a lot more patience than anybody else on earth could have, and that shows up
Okay.
now. That shows up now in everything that I do, and everything in every way that I approach it. And I say it in a very, very positive way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and when you put yourself across to these things, when as I said, the principles have been the same, still the output changes with the same inputs. It's those nuances, that last 1%, that last 2%,
Yeah.
where you dealt with it slightly differently. So that's how my leadership has
Beautiful.
changed. That's, if I was to reflect back on my 20 years journey, and that's how my leadership would have changed, I guess. So
Lovely. Um, Bringing you back to certainty element. Now, I think there's a fascinating difference between appearing certain and actually feeling certain, especially when people are looking to you for direction. Have there been moments where you had to appear certain before you actually felt certain? And what kind of pressure do people at your level rarely talk about? I know, do not say that you started with that actor tag, but give me a different answer this time.
well, you always have to be right, as you, no matter how the other person kind of looks at you, right? The Certainty is a concept which is, which I think you can only be degrees of certain. You cannot be 100% certain about almost
Yeah.
about anything, right? I mean, life changes, ideas change, decisions change, environment changes, and all of that is everything is a moving part, right? So you can never be 100% dead certain ki, things will work in exactly in this
Yeah.
fashion. But and as I said, I mean, you have to trust your instinct, you have to trust your gut, you have to take that leap of faith. But along with all of that leap of faith, all of that, what it allows you to do is put things together differently. Based on your experiences, based on your education, based on your gut. I mean, so when you do that, that's when you I would say nine decisions out of 10 that I take with about 70-80% certainty. I wouldn't wait for the
Okay.
100% certainty. One is I tend to move faster than a lot of my peers when it comes to decisions.
Okay.
I don't wait for the nth level of degree of information before I decide.
Okay.
And I believe strongly in that I think action matters more sometimes than having
Can
having
I
all the
interject right here?
information. Sure.
I love that point when you mentioned that you move faster than your peers.
I
Is
tend
this
to, yeah.
conviction? Yeah. And also, is this also the previous experience of investment banking and the other profession and just working in very fast paced
Yes.
economies? Is that a result of this?
Yeah, and yeah, I guess it's a result of everything that I've been through over the last 30 years, 25 years, I would say, right? And I started working very early in my life. My father, put us through the grind right out of 18. When I turned 18, my father formed a company, and then I was taking care of some small part of that. Right from that experience, through seeing the world, through being an investment banker, then being a private equity guy in the US, private equity investor in the US, came back to India, then as I said, interacted with workers to build something physical, build infrastructure, build a bridge, build a road, build a jail for that matter, and then moving on now to kind of being into real estate. Very, very different concept. You're taking the steel and cement, but you're converting into something very, very different. And then now back to finance, where I have my own private equity group and own private equity firm, and a private debt platform. Yeah, all of these experiences have shaped me, right? And as I said, and because of this, maybe I have arrived at the logical point faster than people around me may, and maybe I'm blessed a little bit because of the experiences that I've had. But I think I've always been, a little bit on the faster side. That's because,
Okay.
and I guess it's got more to do with the fact that I don't wait for the nth level of clarity
Hmm.
before I decide.
You
And,
said that you're okay
you know,
with 70, 80%.
I'm okay with 70-80%. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of mathematical parlance number to it essentially. The reality is, I mean, if you can always wait for the 100%. Kind of you have all the variables in place, and then kind of analyze it and then scrutinize it, and that works brilliantly in
Yeah. Yeah.
science. But we are in but business is a social science. We're working with humans, we're working with people, we're working with dynamic shifting environments. So I guess speed has value. It doesn't mean that I've not made mistakes. I've made tons of them. Just been blessed enough not to have made too many crippling mistakes where I could actually stand up and start running it.
Yeah. 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 All right, lovely. I'm going to highlight the second part of the question that I had, which I feel we haven't covered, which is what kind of pressure do people at your level rarely talk about openly?
Uh, I mean, I don't know how many in my organization know this, but I spend sometimes, when something's going through your head as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, as somebody who's a leader, sometimes, even after you decide, you're not able to sleep on the decision. You're wide awake in the middle of the night and still thinking through it, and thinking through small aspects of it as to, what would be and what would be not. And that pressure, that, it's very difficult to communicate this with it.
Mm.
When you are in a position, when you are in that position where you take these high pressure decisions, where you have
Yeah.
to kind of navigate your organization through high stakes environments, you have to take these calls, and there's no way you can bring everybody around you up to speed on exactly how quickly this is moving. It's just not possible. Uh, but then that keeps you awake. Uh, and it might not be that you've made a call or you're second guessing or whatever. You just
Yeah.
are. I mean, at least a person of I'll talk about me personally. I think you want to kind of go through it again, even though you've decided already. You're
Yeah.
just reviewing your decision, and sometimes that can lead to exciting times, or it does become does become taxing sometimes. So clearly, yeah, absolutely, it's not all
All
hunky
right.
dory.
Yeah. All right. Next, slightly different topic, which is emotional resilience, because I feel that becomes a real life skill at some point in time, and it's just
Yes.
not all strategy, as we're understanding. Um, what has leadership taught you about emotional resilience?
Well, it's not leadership so much as life has. It's not being in a position of leadership at work or anywhere else that taught me emotional resilience. Emotional resilience actually, you know, you know, life will throw situations at you, and how you come out of it will either build character, which essentially will lead to emotional resilience and all of those things. And without that, I don't. If you have an emotional reaction to everything that happens around you, like Mr. Warren Buffett said, right, you will make mistakes, and people will misuse you. But you need to be honest. You need to have the
Yeah.
integrity level of integrity, and you need to still have emotions. Keep all of them in balance and in check, and within yourself. And I think the resilience builds from there. I think it's your character which shapes that resilience, and that's how it shows, I guess. I'm not sure whether I've answered your question or not, but I think
You did very
I've circled
nicely.
around it at least. Yes.
You almost got it there. All right, bringing you
As I said, I'm
to
happy with 80-90%. I don't need the 100%. So
yeah. All right, I want to talk now specifically about what you're building right now, because BKC Edge is not just another project, it's positioned in one of the most competitive and symbolically powerful business districts in the country. And I'm
right.
interested in understanding the thinking behind building something at that level. What does a project like that represent to you personally?
So I actually there's a fantastic story to the project, and we acquired this project about 2.5 years ago. And when we acquired the project, it was a residential project, right? I mean, it was stressed. The erstwhile developer was not able to build it. There was some financial irregularities that had happened. So we had to kind of settle with the banks, do a lot of things, and put the things back in place. We really liked the location. We liked the opportunity there, but we didn't. And I must confess here that when we took it over, we thought we were going to build a residential project there. And we took it over as a residential project, and we moved on. And So while this is a part of BKC, it's that part of BKC which is yet not completely developed. When we say BKC, the premier business district of India, it draws a certain image in your mind. Whereas this is, I mean, and with a penchant of always following Bollywood stories, I say this is the long lost cousin in Kumbh Mela of BKC, where the entire BKC developed, but this is that one part which is really not seen anything. But oh my, oh by the way, the blood and guts still are BKC because the address is BKC, right? So when we went around it and when we did our in-depth research, and this is where this should tell you a lot about us as an organization. So we took over the project and then then we're trying to figure out what to build here.
Okay.
Uh, so, and this is actually true. I'm not making this up. And we went back and forth. Right? We thought we'd build commercial and said, no, let's not build commercial here. Let's build residential. Be done with it. It's safer. It's easier. So we did the entire planning for residential, and all this while, our architect, Mr. Sanjay Puri, kept on being that small humming sound. Have you thought about building a commercial here? Have you thought about building a? No, we've done, but we don't want to do this. We are okay with residential. We made an entire commercial residential plan, all set to go, and put it for approvals.
Okay.
And lo and behold, for some reason, the approvals did not go through at the speed at which we wanted it to go through. So it took a couple of months before things kind of fell in place. In between that, a group of friends was having a chat, and we were just having discussions with each other. All real estate developers essentially. We were probably sitting at a bar. I can't remember now. And one friend of mine who I really respect a lot came back and asked me that question. He said, why aren't you thinking something different here? Why aren't you building commercial? And I'm like, dude, we've gone through that already. We've done that research. It's a little bit more of a risk than we would like to take as an organization, given where we are today. So we are going with a safer product. And he just smiles back at me and says, you should think about commercial again. And
Okay.
trust me, and I really respect this guy. So I said, all right, you know what? Let me put my hat on this again. Let me think through this again and figure out what needs to be done here. And 6 months later, we put in our documents and approvals for commercial. We got approvals almost immediately after that. And the journey of the commercial project of BKCH began from there. Now, as I said earlier, this is not in that core part of BKC where, when you say BKC, the image that your listeners might have, this part of BKC does not have any of that. There's no infra around. There are still some slum pockets that are yet to be emptied, and
Okay.
there's the touch and feel of a BKC does not exist in that zone.
Okay.
However, when we looked at when you strip apart things and we look at the bare necessities, as you might say, the place was brilliantly well located in terms of road connectivity. It's if you know anything about geography of Mumbai, Mumbai is a linear city. We have an eastern side and a western side, and this place sits at the confluence of the eastern, western, and the southern side. So southern Mumbai, and then Mumbai kind of around Bandra, Mumbai starts branching towards an East Mumbai and a West Mumbai. So the West Mumbai is
Okay.
your Andheri, Bandra, that zone, and your East Mumbai is your Ghatkopar, Mulund, Thane zone. Because we have a fantastic national park right in the middle of the city, which splits the city into two parts. So really, it's a Y-shaped city. We have a southern side, and we have these two arms which kind of emanate from there. And the two arms where they meet is this location, literally. So the Western Express Highway and the Eastern Express Highway, which are the arterial roads of these two parts, meet at this. They come closest at this point, and then they convert into the southern roads, which take the traffic further down. Then when we looked at it from the public transport system, when we looked at there are now two metro lines that are right next to the product, and there is a already existing central suburban line which exists there. And all this while, this is, sometimes it's an epiphany moment when somebody else instigates you and pushes you through to think through things all over again. And this time around, rather than thinking that we should be safe or we are comfortable with real estate, we started thinking the problem statement was defined as let's build a commercial building here. And then suddenly the same things that we were looking earlier started giving a different result. When we looked at
Okay.
connectivity, when we looked at the address, the prestige of the address, and then we took a call that we'll do commercial building here. Now that's easy to say, right? I mean, you took a call and now you expect, it's a mid-sized project, it's for its space, and now we have to now convince the rest of the world what we've seen.
Yeah.
So a team of almost 40 people spent a good 6.5, 7 months prepping the
Okay.
market for this launch. And we went and met almost 11,000 channel partners across Mumbai, east, west, north, south, everywhere, and tried to educate them that this part of BKC is the next growth story of BKC. This is what's happening here. And we as an organization invested our time, our resources, and our efforts in that. So uh, fast forward another few months, in February of this year, in February 2026, we launched the project. And I must say, when we concluded the launch on 19th of April, and it was, the response has been overwhelming.
Okay.
Response from the realized price, response from the volume of sales that we've made. And for a smallish organization like ours, we quite honestly overwhelmed with what we've achieved so far. But
Okay.
goes back to the earlier part of the decisions, right? That earlier part of our discussion, actually, that a lot of these decisions require a leap of faith eventually at the end of it. And we were reluctant to take that leap of faith, and yet the world had, the external energies probably had something else in mind, and maybe they came in shape of what Mr. Sanjay Puri was telling us, or what Mr. Raj Gala was telling us. He's a dear friend of mine who gave me that last 1% push. And then we started thinking about it again in a very, very different way. And today, when we do this, today, it's the externalities that help us shape our thought process, and give us that courage to at least go through that decision. Now we're here.
Yeah.
We're nowhere close to done. We're still 3.5 years away from understanding what the outcome of that decision is. But we feel good about the project. We feel that we have done something great, and we are establishing a location. And as stars would have aligned, more infra is coming around in this place. There's
Okay.
very recently, a Meaty riverfront rejuvenation project was announced. While we knew this was in the works, we were really blessed at the timing of that announcement, because it just happened just as we were launching the project, and it gave the prospective buyer a lot of clarity of what's going to happen in this area. And there were a couple of other bridges and so on and so forth that were declared too. So all in all, I think you need that stroke of luck. That 1% luck is always there.
Yeah.
And that 1% in this case could be a friend telling you to do something, or your consultant trying to do something, or the world just kind of aligning sometimes to your vision. But that 1% also needs the 99% behind it, and
100%.
that's
I
that.
mean, while he nudged, but if you would not have acted, this would not have happened. So it's your vision also. And it's also acting on that conviction, which is like 70-80% of the nudge, right? And then your team actively working on this to putting it all together. And then we spoke about timing. And when you
Right.
mentioned about timing, I think it's the right impetus, because my next question leads into that. We believe timing matters too, like we just spoke, especially in markets that evolve as quickly as yours. Why was this the right moment for something like this? What made you think that now is when I should act, and then everything started aligning up together?
I guess timing matters a lot, but I don't think so. You really know exactly what is the right time. Like anybody who is invested in stock markets, everybody tells you, right? Don't wait for the bottom of the market. You'll never be able to predict it. Clearly, we'll never be able to predict exactly how the markets behave, and what would be. I must say, right timing is always in hindsight, not in foresight.
Hmm.
I would think so, but I think you take your experience and you try to kind of get a feeler of the location of your feeler of the timing, essentially. And you do see, everybody sees the same numbers. Everybody reads them differently. uh, and like right now also is a very, very flux environment, right? We have the West Asia oil crisis happening, inflation which
Yeah.
is going to run amok in India if things don't change. And our prime minister is really putting in a lot of work. I'm sure a lot of people can criticize him for the fact that the rupee is depreciating or the oil prices are going up, but quite honestly, there's a humongous externality to it, and he's really trying to push hard. But and this again is a timing of flux, right? I mean, if across the board you're hearing people talk about, yeah, our honorable prime minister talked about the fact that the gains of the last 10 years might be wiped out, or we might subject people who were just alleviated out of poverty might be subjected back to poverty, and so on. So all of these are negative. negative thoughts and
Yeah.
tones, right? Clearly, I mean, it's a challenge
Yeah.
that we see as a nation and as individuals. Now, as a business developer, especially in the business of real estate, where even the decision that I take today, I said, as I said, I get to know after 3 4 years whether the decision that I took today actually worked or no. So as a developer, because when you're shaping some things, it's very difficult to reshape something midway. So we've placed our bets already, and a lot of my peers have done that too. But but you do always have a sense of where the overall direction is, and in real estate is not the business for the faint-hearted.
Okay.
It does require a lot of conviction to power through short-term challenges and short-term cycles. You can see through short-term cycles and short-term challenges. As I said, real estate is a fantastically brilliant industry. It is very, very rewarding, but you need these three. You need these characteristics. You need this ability, and I don't think you can really predict that. I think you can get a feeler of that, and when we launched in February. So this has actually happened to us twice, and it's
Okay.
actually a colleague of mine brought to my notice. The first project that we did in Mumbai, we launched in 2020. Earlier, before this, we were doing kind of larger townships just on the outskirts of Mumbai. The first project inside the core city of Mumbai, we launched in February 2020. Clearly, I mean, it was not the best time to launch a real estate project because the lockdown was imminent just 30 days later. And we build up for the product. We launched the project, and then lockdown happened. All that energy, all that investment, all that idea fell flat.
Yeah.
Now nobody
Yeah.
could have predicted the lockdown and nobody could have predicted the severity of it either. Similarly, when we launched this project, in February we launched this, and then the US, Iran, Iraq, Iran Israel war happened, and people started going sideways as to they believe the story, but they wanted to defer the buying decision because there's externality, there's a reason to kind of pause and stop, right? And the joke around my office is that we are just we are hoping to see what happens the third time we launch a project in Mumbai. Let's see let's see what we unravel on the world in this case, but we'll let you know when the time comes. But the reality is, we could not have predicted it. We could not have predicted this 2020 February, that the lockdown was going to be so severe and so
Yeah.
clamping. We don't even know today, as we speak right now. We don't know what the next 6 8 months are going to entail, and we don't know which direction it's going to blow. Whether it's going to be as severe as the statements, as the as the data suggests, or whether it be moderate and temperate, and India will continue to power through with its inherent strength and power. So we don't know that today. But
Yeah.
if you want, this time around next year, we'll know the answer to that, and then probably I'll be able to better answer whether I took the right call, just a couple of months ago or no, and we'll see. But you need to have that courage. You need to have that conviction to kind of go through these short terms. And
All
we
right.
are in that space right now. So we are in that space where we don't know. We are in a space of flux, as I said, and we don't know how it's going to go. But as an organization, as an individual, I I hope that I'm able to insulate my decisions and insulate my people from these short-term kind of blasts, and then power through. We were able to do
All right.
that when COVID hit. We as an organization, we are slightly conservative. We had enough reserves to kind of support our employees through the
Okay.
period, and then and in fact, I would say COVID period actually turned out to be a boon for us
Okay.
later on. When we went back to the market, the receptivity for the product was very, very high.
Okay. All
So, I
right.
mean, again,
That's good to know.
you're not able to kind of pinpoint on timing here.
Yeah, like you said, conviction is the word. All right, bringing your focus to workspaces now. Now, what's interesting is that workspaces themselves are changing. People no longer just want functionality, they want experience, flexibility, and identity. In your opinion, what do modern businesses actually expect from a workplace today? What do you feel?
So all of the three things that you said, right? People expect experience. People expect, you're spending a good part of your life in your office,
Yeah,
spending almost, let's say, 8 hours inside the office. If you're in
yeah,
Mumbai, you're spending an hour and a half getting in and getting out of office. So your life actually is, kind of revolves around this place,
yeah.
uh, and you probably spend more time there than you spend in your own home. Probably more awakened time at your
Yeah,
office than in
yeah,
your
yeah.
own home. And so now as we are powering through India 2.0 and India 3.0 over the last 10-15 years, what ended up being a necessity, where connectivity is now expected, right? My travel to my office should be pain free, at least in Mumbai. You're seeing, and Mumbai is transforming, right? With 350 kilometers of metro coming in, the almost 80-90 kilometers of coastal road, the Atal Setu, the map of Mumbai is changing, and so are the so are the way to experience work and workplaces. So you're seeing a lot of these category 2, category 3 locations blooming up, coming up with a grade A product, trying to offer that experience now, but along with that connectivity, along with that convenience of being closer to where you stay. And each product, and you're seeing a lot of these combinations evolving, and it's an exciting time to be in commercial real estate in Mumbai, at least. And when coupled with the growth that we have seen overall as a country, people are expecting, and the second thing, and more interesting thing that people are expecting from their offices is that they want it to be less of a decision or an effort. Right now also,
Okay.
for we've all seen kind of pictures of trains being jam packed in, suburban trains being jam packed in Mumbai, just like any other city like Tokyo or whatever. But then now people are trying to kind of break away from that mold, or hoping to break away from that mold. However, core areas like the core prestige areas like BKC or Nariman Point, they'll always remain. They'll always be at the epitome of the commercial zone, right? But then you're also seeing a lot of category B, category C areas that are coming up, and they're offering a fantastic value proposition right now. So
So that's how the landscape is evolving.
the landscape is evolving. The jury is out on that as to how this will move. And even in offices, for that matter, earlier the simple, or rather the most expected way of doing it, that an organization would lease a place and get kind of for a longer term, or buy a place and then put the office there. With the managed offices, kind of industry evolving so rapidly, that has also had a massive impact on experience within the office.
Okay.
Now you're interacting not with just the colleagues inside your office, but you're having the ability to interact with more people around you. You're sharing spaces with them. You probably have conversations over coffee, or and those things would lead to ideas and stuff. So clearly, there's a lot of things happening on that side.
All right, amazing. Now, on that note, we feel that commercial real estate itself is entering a different era right now. How do you think the meaning of commercial real estate is evolving?
How is it
So,
evolving, you say?
yes.
So there are a lot of business models that are evolving around, and the last 2 decades we saw SaaS kind of evolve around software as a service. In the last 5 years, you've seen RaaS, I would say, which is real estate as a service, be it co-living, be it co-managed spaces or whatever. So all of this is offering real estate, but in reality, they're not just offering you square footage. They're offering you an entire experience, an entire service around that. The managed office industry, the co-living industry, has changed the way not just commercial real estate, but also rental residential real estate in India is. And over the world also, I think they're having a large impact on that. India never had a build to rent residential model. We always had a build to rent office model. This commercial real estate was always available on a build to rent perspective, or rather was built from a rental perspective. But we don't have residential houses yet being built from a rental perspective. Where, a developer doesn't go and say, "Hey, I'm going to build 100 apartments here. I'm not going to sell anything. I'm just going to rent out these things." It just doesn't happen. Multifamily rental doesn't exist in India as
Yeah.
an asset class, but it's evolving. It's coming to that. Co-living has broke the first barrier of it, and hopefully the next two versions of co-living will kind of get us to the place where we have built to suit built to suit, built for rent residential
Yeah.
properties. Now, and the managed office spaces is changing the experience quotient of a commercial real estate from that perspective. So real estate is being offered as a service now, more than real estate is real estate. Now, this is an age-old asset class, which has age-old systems, which still kind of draw on square footage and so on. But then reality is that it is more of an experience now, and that's the reason why these managed office spaces are doing so well. And I think I might bet that this trend will continue to grow.
All right. Okay, perfect. Now that brings me to something that I've been thinking about throughout this segment, where whether the projects that you entail, do you think of them like purely strategic or they're also symbolic of something? Now, bringing you back again to the BKC Edge, is this project more of a strategic move or a statement for you?
I I don't think I ever do anything for statements. I don't need to make statements. I have an organization which is powered through over the last decade. We're just 11 years old, and we started with a smallish project, on the outskirts of Mumbai. Now we're building one of the most sought after project inside the core of commercial real estate of India, not just Mumbai.
Yeah.
And clearly we got through that by trusting ourselves and placing placing a courage and conviction both together on the table.
Yeah.
And I think that then in itself is a statement enough. And we are still very, very old school. We are very, very conservative when we look at our balance sheets, the way we execute projects. Very, very hands-on approach. Uh, so if we succeed already, if we do, if the result, as I said, after 2.5, 3.5 years, if the result of this is great, the statement would be at that point in time, not today. I think now it'd be
Yeah.
immature or childish even if I just put something on a drawing board and I make a massive statement about it. I yet
Yeah.
have the industry to approve of it. I yet have my customers to support me on that, and then it has to see light of day.
Yeah.
And the day when the last lock will be laid on that place, that in itself would be a statement, and hopefully by that time we'll be powering something different. So this would be a mood statement at the end of it. So no,
All
we don't
right.
do anything for
Perfect.
statement. We do things strategically for sure. But as you said at the start of the podcast, right? You might think everything is straight line and linear, but it seldom is.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we are. We're not an organization. I, as a person, I don't believe in straight line growth. Straight line growth happens, when you are a utility, right? Or when you are such a large organization where the leaps are not happening, the leaps of growth are not happening. Whereas for us, we're a smallish mid-sized organization, we are still leaping to the next stage and the next stage. So we'll see. For us, nothing is straight line.
Perfect. All right, lovely. Now, you're also deeply involved with NAREDCO NextGen, which means you're not just building projects, you're also helping shape the next generation entering this industry. And I think that's a very different kind of a responsibility. Now, what do you think the next generation of leaders in this space need to get it right?
Oh, um, I think at least in Mumbai we have a saying, right? Ultimately whatever you build will get sold. So don't think through that purely. I guess people in real estate sometimes do get overly ambitious and bite more than what they can chew. I guess if I had something to tell my colleagues and peers in the industry, or the up and coming kind of next gen essentially, I would tell them that be patient, uh, you know take that leap, but then support it with the right resources, support it with the right conviction, and then when you bet on a product, go all in with your energy, go all in with your effort. But hopefully, you would not go all in with your balance sheet and bite a lot more. I mean, I think growing strength to strength and having an assessment of what you do, because the market is, real estate is very charming that way, sometimes the enchanter becomes the enchanted in this case, where we as real estate developers, we call dream viewers. Every second real estate ad, you'd see somebody talking about selling a dream home or doing something different. But in reality, it requires a lot of things to fall in place for a building to come up or a project to get completely and successfully executed. So all I would tell my colleagues and my peers is be prepared for something that you're not prepared for. That's going to happen. The uncertainty is more certain than anything else. and there will be things that will come your way which you've never even thought about. There will be curveballs from those perspectives. Just stick to your core, understand it, break it down, go through it. There's no other way. But the other end, at the end of this gray cloud is a fantastic silver lining, and from that perspective, the industry is brilliant.
All right, talking about the next gen, now we also feel like young professionals focus heavily on speed, but they underestimate what actually compounds over time. In
Hmm.
your opinion, what are younger professionals underestimating today?
Uh, I think at the and I'm going to say this with two experiences. One experience as an entrepreneur who hires the incoming generation of workers in our business, and second as a father of two teenage daughters, who are one of whom who's just trying to figure out what she wants to do, and very soon she'll be joining the workforce too, hopefully. And the I see, and this is across the board on both sides of the spectrum. I see that people, and I guess I'll refer to the initial part of the statement of the podcast that I said that people tend to confuse information with knowledge.
Okay.
Uh, and this generation has so much information available so easily, uh, that the application of concepts, of ideas, of thought, which will convert that knowledge, that information to knowledge. I'm seeing, way back when we had to kind of, if we had to do one paper, we had to go through reams of data and research, kind of go through articles and news reports and what have you. And now, you could probably just ask a simple prompt to ChatGPT and they would give you an answer to your research. The research has become that easy. But it was that that effort of
That's
doing that research firsthand that actually allowed us to be a little bit more patient, spend a lot more time with the information at hand. So if I was to say anything, I mean, to the generation which is entering the workforce today, I would say don't confuse information with knowledge. And information is simple, information is cheap, information has no value nowadays. Information had a lot of value in our time when it was very hard to come by. Knowledge is, if you're able to convert that information into actionable plan or an actionable knowledge, then you are already ways and leaps ahead of your own generation. And then hopefully, then you need to have your timing right, and you need to be blessed with a little bit of luck too. And I think you'll be fine.
perfect. All right. Ultimately, we feel there's a difference between participating in an industry and actually shaping it. So, from your perspective, what will define the leaders who actually shape the industry and not just participate in it?
Real estate always rewards people who take bold bets eventually.
Okay.
But
Okay.
they when Niranjan Hiranandani sir, took a bold bet on building Powai in the 70s and the 80s. Everybody thought maybe, and this is him. I'm paraphrasing what he said before, that
Yeah.
people thought he was out of his mind to kind of build in the middle of nowhere. And today,
Hmm.
that portion of the city is one of the most live, thriving part of it. And as a real estate developer, you have to have a vision, because every decision that you take takes years to take shape, and then it takes furthermore decades to kind of really come out to value.
Hmm.
So I don't think you can become a real estate kind of developer without having vision. Now you can become
Hmm.
and there's a difference between being a builder and a developer, and it's a uh, very very subtle difference.
Hmm.
If you're building in the middle of the city where where you're just converting an older building into a newer building, I guess the need for a vision is that much lesser. But if you're building a brand new location, if you're trying to grow a location, or give an identity to a location, like we are trying to do with BKC Edge right now, and understanding what the H block will bring, or what when I've heard, or what I've learned from what my interaction with Niranjan sir over so many years, that and so many decades ago when he was trying to build something different. You need to have that courage. And if you're on that side of the equation where you have the ability, or you're given a chance to kind of grow a new location, or redefine a location, that's what will shape the industry, and that's what will shape the next movement of what real estate would be. So
Okay.
as a developer, you need to have vision. You need to have, and if you're doing something large, if you're doing something uh, something worth area defining, as you would say it, uh, and it requires a lot of conviction.
All right. I feel like we've heard this term conviction so many times that it's now becoming ingrained. You're talking about real estate, it has to have that element of conviction. Otherwise,
Absolutely,
one will not be able to. I mean, that is like an ingrained skill that you need to start with, I feel. Is that true?
absolutely. Because yeah, because when you're doing anything else, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I, you always, the ability to shift is much faster.
Hmm.
If you're doing, let's say, if you're doing FMCG, and let's say you came up with a product with, let's say, the scent of a particular flower, and it was not working out,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
could easily retool and add a different perfume or a different configuration and repackage it in
True,
a
yeah.
different way. And that could be quick. Whereas
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
we build, first of all, it takes 3 to 5 years in the making,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have to envision at least minimum that much ahead,
Yeah.
if not more. So
Hmm.
you need to have that conviction. You need to, and a lot of people, uh, when the markets were not moving that fast or were not that dynamic, real estate was generational, right? My father did it, then I did it, so I got to learn from his experiences while my own experience was growing.
Hmm.
Whereas now
Hmm.
the industry is shifting so drastically, right, and dynamically. So and the information is available. So a lot
Hmm.
of information is available. If you are able to see that, if you're able to take that information and hopefully build into competitive advantages
Hmm.
by
Hmm.
having different insights, then you'll do something better. Then you'll be really well rewarded.
All right, perfect. Bringing you to the portion where we talk about success, because I think that success
Mhm.
itself changes, meaning as people evolve. What matters at one stage often becomes irrelevant the next time. How has your view of
Sure.
success changed over time?
My God. When I was an investment banker, and way before that also, I mean, success was very, very transactional, right? And, it came
Hmm.
to me that whether this deal was done or not done, whether I'm a part of, of an investment committee or a deal team, and that
Yeah.
got executed or not, did not get executed. Then, and as I've transformed now, success is I always often see that, I have a very, very strong bunch of people who've been with me through the journey of real estate over the last 10 years, and I've started seeing success in how they evolve, also how our organization is evolving, also the kind of legacy that I'm building for myself. And the definition is drastically changed, I would say. I mean, it is. I think what was earlier, all the numbers were very, very exciting early up in life. I did $1 billion deal. Made a 6-figure bonus check. Very exciting. Don't get me wrong. Money still is a fantastic motivator, but
Yeah.
I would say it's not number one anymore. I mean, there are a lot of other things that are into play. We are trying to be large, at least I am. And for me, the definition of success has now changed from that perspective. Uh, Clearly, I need to make money so that I can reach there. But
Yeah. We're not discounting that
but
part.
not at all. I don't want to sound too preachy. I mean, I
Of
understand
course.
that the moment you start saying, "Oh, I want to build a legacy," and all, it all sounds very fluffy. But
Hmm.
reality is that if I want to build something that will last beyond me, then I need to build a lot of things, which even I am discovering as an individual. So for me now, that is the next level of success. That if I'm able to institutionalize, a little bit of my thought process, or give my people the same
Vision
latitude of thought and vision. Yes. So if they are
and
able to kind of
conviction.
take these calls, and always. So I'm not, I'm just trying to hope. I just hope that I can build an environment where that thrives. I don't want to build a system so constricting that people stop thinking and just become kind of bots, if you may. I hope that I grow with them, and then there's trust and integrity that flows both ways. So hopefully we'll do that. See what happens in the next 5 years. We'll let you know.
All right, perfect. All right. See what we were talking about. We were talking about evolution and how the measuring scale of success changes with time. Now, I think that different people optimize different things at different time of life. What do you value more now when we talk about scale, control, impact, or clarity? where is the focus of these four things?
I think I mean it's actually very basic. I just value time a lot more.
Okay.
Uh, you know, and and uh, and who I spend it with, where I invest it is something that is changing drastically. And it is, over the last 1 year, it has become a little bit more apparent to me that I need to kind of better structure
You become a lot more
my.
intentional. Should we
Uh,
say that in
well,
terms of time?
yeah, they're great. I'm sure they're great words, but I think in that case, I'm still only about 30-40% there.
Okay.
But yes, I would love to be. I'd love to be kind of evolve further towards that side, and I think I've taken the first step correctly. I've understood that this is what I need to do. So now
Okay.
I'm putting a plan to action. I don't think it's a straight line either, but
Yeah.
I think I think I have become a lot more intentional. You've got that right. Uh, I value, I also have begun to value a lot more about who I'm working. I you
Okay.
know, if I don't like a certain thing, or if I've left deals on the table where I just did not like the other person. The numbers made a lot of sense. Everything made a lot of sense, but I just didn't like who I was working with, and I didn't want to work
Mm-hmm.
with the guy, so I said no to the deal. And I've said that
Mm-hmm.
multiple times now, to my own surprise. 20 years ago, I would have never said no to that. I would have probably picked it up and learned to deal with it. But now I value that energy also that I share, and I don't want. And there's a fantastic amount to go around, and I don't need to work or be in a place which I don't enjoy. So for me, those are the two things that have changed, and that's just how it is.
All right. Now, I think that growth often comes from unlearning as much as from learning. What belief did you have earlier which you had to unlearn?
It's a very interesting way to put, right? I mean, unlearning. If you don't unlearn, I think you retool or relearn. I guess you reshape. So the conclusion that you might have drawn uh, earlier with your
Yeah.
experiences, those because again because your the way of thinking has changed. Those
Yeah.
conclusions are now more different with the same situation or the same inputs, right? And uh, yeah, there are certain things I would love to unlearn about myself. There's certainly parts of me which hope that didn't exist. Very difficult to have a whole of me without those parts either. So I think I would say that if I had to unlearn something, right, I have not been successful at unlearning anything as much as I've been able to, but I've been reasonably successful at reshaping my thoughts or my way of handling things or my way of doing things. Yeah. uh, you know, the concept of unlearning may be just that, spiritually speaking, or philosophically speaking, rather. But I don't think I've been able to kind of unlearn much of anything. I've just been able to kind of move it in a different direction.
Alrighty. Now, I want to end on a slightly more personal note because I think the most interesting leaders are rarely one-dimensional. Usually, the things that makes them professionally solid are also the ones that how they consume emotionally, intellectually, and personally outside the work. Now, you are someone who enjoys travel and meaningful conversations. What do those experiences give you that business alone doesn't?
Uh, well, travel is a privilege, and I've had a chance to see Earth in a lot of its glory. I've had a chance to kind of go to Everest Base Camp. I've seen some of the most beautiful places on Earth, and travel does. I mean, you realize that what seems so large, sitting in a chair in office,
Yeah.
feels smaller, feels manageable when you travel and see the world and put yourself in perspective of the larger things in mind. Uh, and travel also, I mean, if a lot of people, visit a lot of places, they don't
Mm.
experience those places. I mean, I've gone to this country X or country Y, but have not understood about the culture there, about the people there, or not experienced just the energy. I'm not saying that culture and all of this takes a lot of time to understand, but even if you want to just observe a little bit, a lot of people don't stop and pause in their travels. They tend to do the more touristy things, and
Yeah.
trust me, even I've done that in my life. I'm not saying no, but now when I'd like to kind of, in every travel that I have, if it's a successful trip, then there would be a one day in between where we're doing nothing. Probably, just people watching in a cafe somewhere in the middle of a bustling city in a different country or whatever. And, when you observe, there's so many things to observe, right? I mean, for
Yeah.
me, real estate is everywhere, right? I mean, my product is all around me always, no matter which country, where I visit. And for me, from that perspective, it does allow me to visit a lot of things, to see a lot of things from that perspective. But even otherwise, I mean, you see how people interact, small things like how cafes are built in Europe versus how they're built in India. That will tell you a lot about, about how people interact with each other. So it's a
Hmm.
people business that I am in. And if I can sit and observe, my travel helps me expand little, that circle of
Thought.
possibility. Expands me. It helps me expand the circle of possibility a little bit more.
I was actually going to ask you this thing, that when you travel, which means you're stepping away from work, we're thinking that you're stepping away from work. Does that bring some kind of clarity, and how will you imbibe that into work? Or if has there been any instance that you've traveled, you've observed, and then you brought that here back in
Oh,
India
yeah.
in some
Multiple
construction?
times. Multiple times, actually. Even just as small things like how safety should be envisioned, or how you could create a walkway around an under construction building in a metropolitan area. So it doesn't have to be groundbreaking epiphany moments all the time. Just be small things here and there, and little bit changes, small changes here and there, and small improvements or small adaptations, essentially, in this case. And it happens all the time. And it happens very subconsciously, quite honestly. You don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
think through it as to,
Yeah.
if you observe certain things and you want it in a certain way, it happens. And you don't even have to travel abroad for it. Even within India, within city also sometimes it happens. That, when you're looking at somebody else's project and, oh, they've
Yeah.
done this differently. Let me take that, and maybe I'm having, I'm out just partying with friends or whatever, and I come across something, those moments also kind of help a lot. So a
All
lot of people
right.
build things
Okay.
together.
Now, I do feel personally, but I want to ask you that, do you think that the quality of conversations people seek also changes with time? What kind of conversations energize you now? We spoke about your tilt towards intentionally optimizing your time and being mindful of the people you surround yourself with. Tell me.
Sure. Depends on the audience, right? Depends who you're with. With my friends, although a lot of them, we have a good group of people who are real estate developers, and we are very, very dear friends now. We don't talk about buildings at all.
Oh,
When we
wow.
are just having fun, we talk about random things from football to cricket to whatever else, or we're
Okay.
contemplating, what is going to happen, what is going to happen to the world, or whatever, in our own view. We're just goofing around. But it all depends on who you're with, and what is the tempo of that conversation. I mean, so even while
Yeah.
with real estate, while we are with real estate developers, we are hardly discussing them. We're hardly discussing the business that we are all common to. And then there are other groups of people that, each group has its vibe. So can't really kind of give a
Say.
common denominator to that. But that's the reason why you have multiple groups, right? Each one of us has this different group of
Sure.
friends. You
Yeah.
don't want to have only one sort of conversation or one sort of experience. I mean, these different groups would allow you to have different ways.
Now, I think this
You
is
don't
the
need to.
perfect place to ask the question that I end every episode with, because this podcast is called Unapologetic Me for a reason. And at the core of it, it's really about owning yourself completely. What are you the most unapologetic at this stage of your life?
I think the last 1.5 hours I've been very, very unapologetically me. I've just given you a very, very bare bones inside version of who I am. Uh, I'm I'm very, very unapologetic of my expectations with people. I really expect a
Okay.
lot out of the people who are around me, be it professionally, be it personally, and I hold them to, I hope I'm able to inspire them, and I hold them to even higher standards than they themselves believe for themselves sometimes. And sometimes it leads to situations where, expectations are away from realities. But then I don't apologize about that anymore. Earlier, I used to feel that, oh my goodness me, I expected so much and it did not happen. Feel kind of go into a spiral, a negative spiral on that. But now I don't worry about that. I if I if I respect you, then I'll have higher expectations from you.
All
Uh,
right.
and and sometimes people find it a little taxing, right? To kind of be there. Uh, but then I tend to kind of invest time with the people that I am with. I tend to kind of invest my energies with them, and I'm very very unapologetic for the fact that I'm very very goal oriented. Ultimately,
That's true.
reaching stage A to stage B really matters, because unless you cross stage B, it's all fluff. Whatever the journey that you put yourself in professionally or personally.
Mm-hmm.
So and I don't see a reason to apologize about that. I mean, it might come across as very very kind of dogged in his determination or whatever, but then without that, I don't think I can turn around and provide the opportunities that I can, for myself and the people that are with me and so on. So I think it goes both ways. And I don't like to apologize for that. Now sometimes people do feel overwhelmed around me because my ideas. I mean, I tend to have larger than life ideas. I scare my father. I used to scare my father a lot
Really?
when I told him that, oh my goodness, we will do this and we do that. And when I was much younger, and today he's given up on me, saying, "Boss, he aise hi karega." He'll think like this only, and he doesn't bother about those things anymore. But yeah, I mean, I tend to have larger ideas, and I'm not apologizing about that at all. Not
All
apologetic
right.
about that at all.
Okay. Now, if you had to leave the audience with one thought, whether about building, leadership, or life, what would that be? This is the last question.
Wow. I think across this entire conversation, I've told you exactly how I think, and for me, you need to trust yourself. You need to have that conviction in your own self, and but at the same time, be humble enough to accept other people's views. Be humble enough to learn from what other people are trying to tell you, right? I mean, be open to those things. Yeah, and I'm not saying take your idea and start jumping around, and but be if you really respect yourself and your time and your energies, uh, you will be and you'll be smart enough for that, that you'll learn from what other people are trying to tell you, and you'll understand other people's perspectives and vantage points. And you sometimes you might not agree with them. That's okay. But I would say, listen to them, take that into consideration, give it due thought, and then decide. And there is uh, no harm, or rather, there's no loss of ego if you change your thoughts. So be honest to yourself. Be honest to what you really are trying to build. It didn't matter to me whether I was building a residential building or a commercial building. What mattered to me more was that the project was going to be a success. That I was going to build a product which was going to be an area landmark defining product, right? And then, as I learned from my friend, and as I learned from my from my other stakeholders, I was humble enough to accept the fact that maybe I could view this slightly differently. And then when I went through the whole thing, the whole gamut about that location, what about re-identifying that place, I came up with a different answer, and I was
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to accept the fact that I was able to change my thought process.
Hmm.
If you're flexible enough to do that, I think you'll make a lot less mistakes, and you'll be at the right side of everything in that. So,
All
I
right.
guess.
Such wise words, Vikas. We're so grateful that you got the time on your calendar. Seriously. I think what stayed with me from this conversation is how much of building anything meaningful comes down to how you think and how you hold that thinking under pressure. So, thank you so much, Vikas, for sharing your perspective so openly. And to everyone listening, if something from this conversation stayed with you, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Tell me what you're thinking, what you're questioning, and what you're taking away from this. This is Unapologetic Me, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, live your life unapologetically. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ekta.